What's going on, guys? It's Nathan here. We're back with a brand new JavaScript tutorial. So today we're going to go over a couple of very common functions that you're going to be probably using most of the time when it comes to um, building your applications, and they're very useful too. Okay, so quite often you've seen some functions such as .map, .filter, .forEach. There's a whole list, and if you want to actually check those functions out, you can actually go over to the MDN docs, arrays, functions. I'm trying to find it as we speak. MDN array, and there should be a bunch of different functions on the prototype that you can use. Okay, we're just gonna go over a few because most of these are very easy. If you just click on it and just like look it up, it shouldn't be too hard to implement them anyways, or to use them. All right, so let's start off with just a couple. Let's start off with a simple filter. Okay, so I'm gonna just open up a REPL for Node.js. I'm not gonna use my text editor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and declare a variable called, let's just say array or R, and I'm going to just give it some elements. So let's go ahead and just do a couple names. So let's say Anson. Let's just say Jack. What else? Sarah, Samantha, Elizabeth, Ryan, and I think that's it. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and call the .filter function. Okay. So we're going to use array.filter, and what this does is it returns a new array of all the elements that passed the test that was implemented by the predicate function, is what I like to call it. So I'm going to show you real quick. So since it returns an array, we obviously should create a variable to store that new array. So let's just say filtered. Okay, and we're going to reference our array ARR. Okay, that's our original array, and we're going to call filter. And what we're going to do inside here is we're going to need to pass in a predicate function, or a predicate as well. You can call it, either a filter function, predicate, whatever. But it's basically going to be a high order function that needs to do some kind of check. And if that element passes that check, all right, then it's going to return it into that filtered array. Okay, so basically it's going to go through all of these elements. It's going to go through all of these names, and it's going to pass that element into the predicate, and it's going to check if it satisfies the predicate or not. And if it doesn't satisfy it, then it's going to be skipped. Okay, so I want to return all of the names or all of the elements where it starts with the letter S. So the way I'm going to do this, so again, you can write your tests however you want. It's really up to you. But I'm going to say name, where let's see, name that starts with lowercase s, or name that starts with uppercase s. So obviously you can use logical operators too. So let's go ahead and log filter. Notice how we get Sarah and Samantha. Okay, we get both of the names back using the filter function. We can also do other things too, such as, we can also specify other filter functions too. For example, we can say where name, let's get all the names that are length 4. So where name.length equals 4. And let's just log that across so we get Jack and Ryan. And of course you can add a bunch of other tests too. But this is just the most basic one for now. All right, so again, the filter function, all it does is it takes in a predicate function and it runs through the entire elements, and it's going to return a new array of all of the elements that pass that predicate function. Okay, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and take a look at another very common function that you're probably going to use. It's called join, right? So the array.prototype.join function, what it does is it pretty much creates a new string by concatenating all the elements in that array, and it can either be joined with either comma, a dash, or whatever. Okay, so let's go ahead and declare a new array. Let's say var my array, or actually let's call it something different. Let's call it books. or not books. Let's call it a foods. Let's say pizza, hamburgers, sushi. What else? Steak. That should be it for now. And if I want to combine all of these elements together into just one string, I can do so by saying I can reference the array, and I can say join. Now this is a function that takes in a parameter, and that parameter is going to be what we're going to join all these elements with. Okay, so if I want to join all the elements with, let's say, a space, it's going to return one string with all the elements in it separated by a space. I can also do foods.join dash, right? I can also do foods.join pizza is good. Try that. So it's gonna actually, let me try that again. Another space there. Whoops. Pizza is good, hamburgers is good, sushi is good, or should I say are good. Okay, and you guys get the idea. Of course, obviously, we can also store this inside variables. So var statements foods.join, and statement will just be our string. So that's a very useful way to join. Let's say, for example, if you split an entire string up into tokens, and let's say you need to like do something with the array, because when you use the dot split function, which is what we're going to use next, it pretty much splits all of it splits the entire string up, based on a regular expression or just a sequence of characters or whatever. Okay, so you can do something with that array of tokens, and then you might want to join it back or something, whatever you want to do. Okay, but next let's actually use the dot split function, okay, which is another very common function that you should know how it works. So give me 1 sec. All right. Well, actually, no. The split function actually isn't part of the array, but we're gonna use it. We're gonna just go over it real quick. So it's actually part of the string class, the string prototype. So we're gonna say var str equals, let's just say, I don't know, today is my favorite day. And if I can do string.split, split it by spaces, it's gonna give me an array with a bunch of tokens, with a bunch of elements. And notice how we split it based off of spaces. Of course, you can also specify a regular expression here as well, but we're just going to keep it simple and use spaces. And we get today is my favorite day. Okay, very simple. And of course, we can also join that back too. So I can also do join, and I can join it with a dash, right? So this is really good technique to manipulate strings. All right, let's take a look at a couple more. We're gonna look at let's see, just kind of like looking on the website and seeing what I want to go over. Oh, this is another one this is my favorite one actually. Okay, we're gonna get a little bit. We're gonna give a couple of complex examples. So first, I'm gonna say var numbers, and let's see, var numbers. Give me 1 sec. Node clear REPL. On clear. I don't know how to clear the I'm trying to clear my REPL. Oh, I think it's dot clear. I don't know, anyways, doesn't matter. All right, so let's go ahead and declare an array. Let's just say var numbers equal, numbers equal, let's just say 56, 78, 45, 67, 34, 23, 45, 90, 23, 56, 77, 11. All right, so it doesn't matter if there's duplicates, but what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to check to see if this array has some number that is divisible by, let's see, divisible by 3. So we're going to say numbers dot sum. Now sum takes in another predicate function, okay? And that predicate function is going to be used to test if some element is satisfies that condition. So if it does, it's going to return the first element that, or it's going to return true on the first element that satisfies the predicate function. So if I want to look for, if I only care if this array has, so let's say for example, if I don't care what the element is, right, but I just need to know if there is some element where it is divisible by, 3 or 4 or 5, for example, or, it satisfies some condition, then you want to use sum. Okay. Otherwise, you might want to use, if you want to like actually get the element back, you might want to use find. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say element, which is the element that is the current element in the array. Remember, it goes through the entire array. We're going to say element, and we're going to say divisible by 3, 0. And if that is true, and if that predicate is satisfied, it's going to return true. And it is going to return true because 45 is divisible by 3. Okay? Awesome. All right, let's try a more advanced one. Let's go ahead and say var people, and this is going to be an array of objects, okay? Let's see, we're going to do name, Anson, age 22, name Josh, age 23, name Sarah, age 33. Let's do one more. Name, let's see, Sophie, age, we'll say 29. All right, and we're gonna close this array. Awesome. So we have an array of objects. Okay. The only difference is the elements are objects. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through this entire array and we're gonna check to see if there is some object, if there's some element, or well, let's just say object. There's some object where the property age is greater than 40. So we're gonna say people dot sum, and remember, so inside this this array, all of our objects are the same. I mean, all of our elements are the same instance. They're all objects. Okay. So what we're gonna do, or more precisely, they all have the same structure. They have the same name, the same age. Okay. But you can pretend like they're like, part of like a people class or whatever. So what we're gonna do is for each element, we're gonna say element. Okay, so that's the parameter. Okay, this is a callback function. Okay, but we're using arrow syntax. Okay, and in this case, for the parameter for this callback function is element. Okay, and we're gonna say element. Now remember, element is that object. Okay, element is an object, and that object has two properties, name and age. We're gonna check if the age is greater than 30, or no, greater than 40. I don't know. I forgot which number I said. Okay, and that's it. That's gonna be our predicate function, and you're gonna see this is gonna return false because you can see that there's no object where the property age, the value of that, is greater than 40. Okay, and that's a pretty a little bit more complicated exam. Not too complicated, but a little bit complicated. Just to show you guys, like, how this works. And of course, you can get more complex as well, but we're not gonna get into that for now. That's up to you guys to figure out. All right, and we'll touch one more, which is a very, very common one. Well, actually, a couple more that I want to go over. But we can also iterate. This is a really popular one too. It's important that you understand how this works. So we can use the forEach function on arrays to iterate through every single element in that array. So it's very useful if you want to log every single element to the console, if you want to do something or whatever you want to do. Okay, works like a for loop. Well, not like a for loop. I'm pretty sure there's some differences underneath the hood, but you get the idea, right? So notice how all of these elements are being logged. All right, that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's go ahead and do one more, which is a very, very popular one. It's called map. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that numbers array that I declared earlier, and I'm going to call map on it. Now what map does is it returns a new array. So actually we don't want to ignore the value that's being returned. So we're going to assign it, let's just say var mapped numbers, and we're going to reference numbers. We're going to call map. Okay, so this also takes in a function, right? But this function, what it's going to do is it's actually going to modify each element. Okay, so what map does is it takes every single element, it modifies the element however you need, and it returns that new element to that new array, inserts into that new array that is being returned. That makes sense. Okay, so the original map is actually not modified. It's not mutated. Okay, so let's say if I want to take all numbers in here and mod it by 5. So we're gonna say num. So that's the parameter. Remember, this is a callback function. So the parameter is num. We're using arrow syntax. We could also do, function num, right? If you're not used to arrow syntax. But realistically, doing function num and using the return statement like this, return num mod 5, just showing you guys a different syntax so you guys are familiar. Now, if we reference this, we're gonna get 13024 3003 121 like that. Okay, and of course we can also do, and if we also reference that numbers map again, the array, it's the same exact thing. It doesn't get modified. So map is a very good function if you want to create a new array based off of a current array, but you want to modify the value somehow. Okay, so of course you can use it to your advantage. It's a very powerful function that you can use. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for now. I just wanted to go over some of these basic functions that a lot of people might not know how to use, but hopefully after this whole video, you understand how it works. And if you have any questions, feel free to just ask them down below. Make sure you join my Discord server. I'll leave a link in the description. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Peace. See you guys.